Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin, and for today's video we are going to be doing the mid-year freakout slash mid-year book tag. Is this video a bit late? Yes. However, that's okay. So I have read a total of 15 books this year, and I'm really proud of myself for that because I started off this year on a pretty rough beginning because I didn't read my first book until March, and grad school was really beating my butt and I just had no motivation to read. But it started picking up in March, and I feel like since then I've really been prioritizing reading and reading some really awesome books. So I'm really happy with all the books that I've read so far this year. Some were hits, some were misses. We're gonna talk about them in this video. I don't overall have a reading goal, like a numerical reading goal. I stopped setting numerical reading goals on Goodreads and stuff because I quickly came to realize that picking a number was so arbitrary and random for me. It wasn't intentional. I didn't know how to pick a number that meant something to me, and I just came to the realization that the number doesn't really mean anything to me as long as I'm reading books, and I'm reading books that make me happy, and I'm reading books by diverse authors and different genres and that are outside of my comfort zone. That matters more to me than an arbitrary number that I just randomly pick because I think it would be fun, you know what I mean? But if you do reading goals, let me know how far you're doing in your reading goals. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get started. We grab my prompts. I will make sure to list the questions and the prompts in the description below in case you want to do the reading tag. The first prompt or question is the best book you've read so far in 2023. This is a little hard because I have had a good run of 5-star books so far this year. I'm not a super harsh rater when it comes to giving a book 5 stars or not, but I feel like there's one book in particular that just took the cake for me. The Death of Vivek Oji by Ekweke Emezi. And you guys, this book is hands down one of the most beautiful and lyrical and heart-wrenching books I've ever read in my entire life. The way that Ekweke Emezi, and this is the first book I've read by this author as well, and I need to read more books by this author, but the way they are able to balance such very heavy topics that are discussed in this book and that are hinted at in this book, but also showcase joy and love and friendship in the midst of all this grief and violence and stuff, I think is just really impeccable, and I really admire their writing style. And I think sometimes when I read books where people really comment on the prose, I feel like sometimes it's a hit or miss for me. Sometimes I get it and it's beautiful and I love it, or other times it's just too subtle for me. I want something that's a bit more direct, and I feel like Ekweke really balances that really well, and they speak directly but they also speak in a very beautiful and subtle way as well, and it really makes you think and sit with what they are trying to convey with the story of Vivek. So The Death of Vivek Oji is a literary fiction novel, and it follows our main character Vivek Oji, and their body is actually found on the doorstep of their mother. That's how the story begins, but then the story goes back and it kind of shows all of the things that leads up to the death of Vivek Oji, and it shows the complicated relationship that Vivek had with their family and their friends and their identity. It's just one of the best books that I've read this year, but also one of the best books that I've read ever, and I'm so excited to read more books by this author. The next prompt is best sequel you've read so far in 2023. How many sequels did I read? Oh, okay. So this one is not hard at all. I feel like this was the easiest one to find a book for. That has to be Bloodmark by Miss Tracy Deonn. Bloodmark is the second book in the Legendborn cycle. The first book is Legendborn, and this is a YA fantasy, and it is absolutely amazing. I read Legendborn, I think back in 2021, I believe. I read Legendborn in 2 days. I ate it up so fast. I love the world that Tracy created with these characters and the setting. I just thought that it was so unique and so different than anything I've ever read before. And Bloodmark, let me tell you something. First of all, let's take a moment for this cover. I want us to just take a moment and appreciate how beautiful this cover is. But Bloodmark is so fast-paced. It is so exciting. It is so riveting. There is never a moment where you can really be at peace or be calm and you're not worried about what's happening next. Because the second you think that things are gonna be okay, the second you think you can have a moment of rest, Miss Tracy's you thought. She's like, what are you resting for? What are you resting for? There's no rest. There's no rest in this book. My heart was pounding the entire time. There was never a moment where I felt like things were gonna be okay. I was just waiting for the next ball to drop at this point because it was just scene after scene after scene after scene. And I believe this book is split into different parts. It was a lot. It was a lot, but it was a lot in the best way. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. Duh. It was the first book I read in 2023. If you are not familiar with the Legendborn series, this follows our main character, Bree Matthews. She is a teenager. She is a Black student who is attending a PWI, and she attends shortly after the death of her mom. Her mom died in a car accident, and as she is attending this PWI, she's starting to notice strange things happening, and she comes to find the secret society of descendants of King Arthur's knights, and she kind of infiltrates that society to get some answers about what she's seeing, but also to reveal some truths and secrets that might be connected to her past and to her mom's death and things like that. And it's just an incredible journey following Bree, and Bree is just such a strong character, and the people that you meet alongside Bree and everything is just absolutely incredible. Like, I adore this series so much. I want the third book now. Like, I need it now. I don't know where Miss Dion is with in her writing process of the third book, but when we have an announcement, give me the arc. Give me, who do I need to sell to get the arc? I will sell myself to get the arc. That's how bad I need the third book. So this is definitely the best sequel I've read so far in 2023. The next one is new release you haven't read yet, but want to. And I have two for this. One of them was in my last video and the other one was in a video a couple weeks ago. The first one is Happy Place by Emily Henry and Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. These are both really hyped up books right now. Like, I have seen very positive things about Happy Place, and I absolutely loved Book Lovers. I read Book Lovers this year, and Emily Henry's an author that with every book that she releases, she continues to just outdo herself and get better and better and better and better. And I'm really excited to read Happy Place. I'm trying to go into it without knowing too much about it, just because I really want to be able to like form my own opinion and really sit with it myself and be able to go into it with an open mind. But I'm really excited to read this. I definitely am going to read this before the summer is over. And then of course I have Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. So many people in my last video commented and raved about this book, and I have not seen a single negative review about this book. And I have Babel by R.F. Kuang, but this is the one that I want to read right now, like today. These are the two books that I definitely want to get into this year. The next one is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. All right, y'all need to sit down with me for this. Unravel Me by Becca Mack is coming very soon. She does not have a date yet, but listen to me. The way I have been waiting for this book to be released is actually insane. I have not watched an author, and like literally when I wake up, I go to Becca's Instagram. When I wake up, I go to her Facebook page. Where's the date? Where's the date, babe? I'm just waiting. I'm just sitting here like, okay, Becca, give me the date. It's coming towards the end of the summer. I'm really excited to read it, but let me talk about what Unravel Me is. I'm just like mentioning it, but Unravel Me by Becca Mack is the third book in the Playing for Keeps series, which is an interconnected series of a group of hockey players, and it's the best hockey romance that you will ever read. Like, I have read a couple of different hockey romances. Nothing is touching this interconnected series. Like, it's actually insane how much I love it. The first one I gave 5 stars, and then the second one I gave 3 stars, but it's okay that I gave it 3 stars because it was still really good, but it wasn't my favorite. But I think just the relationship with these hockey players and their love interest and the relationship and the friendship with each other is just so fun to read. And yes, the books are a little bit longer, but I think that the way that Becca approaches romance and the romance formula is very unique and different. Like, some of her books don't even have a third act breakup. I don't think any of them really have a third act breakup. Unravel Me for sure doesn't have a third act breakup. That's not to say that these characters don't endure conflict in their relationship, but you really get to see a healthy depiction of communication and a relationship and two people who I personally think actually like each other. And I think that you get to see the journey of the relationship and the different dynamics that they have with each other, but with each other's friends and family. It's just such a beautiful depiction of a healthy relationship, and it's so fun. It's so spicy. It's so smutty. Some of the best smut I've ever read in my entire life. Like Carter Beckett. But the reason why I'm so excited to read Adam's book is because Adam is like the sweet, sunshine, really good friend. He's been done dirty in the past, and he is going to start this relationship with a single mom, and there's no third act breakup, like I said, and Adam is just such a sweet person, and it's so nice to finally see somebody who was done dirty in the past by previous relationships finally get their happy ending. And I feel like Adam is a character that's gonna surprise all of us babes. Like, I'm so ready to read this book. You do not understand. There were applications a few weeks ago to sign up to receive an ARC for this book, and I got an email last week that I was chosen to receive an ARC, and I will be receiving my ARC towards the end of this month. So best believe anything that I planned on reading at the end of this month, gone. I am dedicating the end of this month to Adam and Rosie, and I am dedicating this end of this month to Unravel Me and Becca Mack, because that's all that I'm going to be able to talk about. That's all that I'm going to be able to think about. The way that that book is going to consume me, I'm going to devour it in like 2 days, if even, maybe a day. And then after I'm done reading it, when the actual book comes out, I'm going to read it again, because that's how obsessed I am. I just know I'm going to love it. As you can see, I'm very excited for this book to be in my hands. I literally cannot think of anything else but getting this book in my hands. Next book, well, I feel like we were at such a high and now we're about to drop it down, but the next prompt is the biggest disappointment of 2023. The biggest disappointment of 2023, I don't have the physical copy of the book, but I'll put it on the screen. It is Nightfall by Penelope Douglas. This is the 4th book and the last full-length novel in the Devil's Night series by Penelope Douglas. The Devil's Night series is a dark romance. However, now that I know what the girlies are considering dark romance today, the Devil's Night series is like child's play. It is not as dark as you might think based off of what other people are reading, but it's dark to me, honey. It's dark to me. But it's also very like humorous. So I think that if you're trying to get into dark romance, maybe try the Devil's Night series, because it's not like too dark where it's like 50,000 trigger warnings and it's like concerning to, you know, your sanity. But I think there's still those dark themes that are definitely there. So maybe try Devil's Night if you want to try dark romance. With the Devil's Night series, each of the books follow a different horseman, a different guy, and their love interests. And we finally got to Will's book. Will was kind of that guy who was super goofy. He had a very light personality. He kind of was in the background, but he was kind of always there for his friends. And he had very special relationships with different people in his life. And I was so excited to finally get his book and also see his love interest, because we never really got to see her within the other books. Like, she was mentioned, but she wasn't really shown. And I was so disappointed in how the story was told. I felt like Will was just not the same person, and I felt like there was this build up to his book and this build up to the setup for his book, because he goes missing and his friends are trying to find him and he's in this place, and it was just talked about so like, oh my god, this place that he's in is so scary. And I finally got to it and I was like, babes, this is it? This is kind of lame. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, it was just not at all what I was anticipating, what I was expecting, and I didn't really love Will. Emery, who is his love interest, like, she was okay, but she was also kind of mean to him, and it was giving enemies to lovers, but the enemies was a bit too much for me. Like, it was like, babes, I don't think y'all need to be together. Like, I really don't think you need to be together. Like, Will, go find somebody who is not this mean to you, please. Like, she's really mean. I didn't get it. And like Penelope, you know, they are very, you know, popular with their smut and spicy scenes, and sometimes I understand it. I always am like, I'm gonna let you do what you need to do to deliver the story. However, I felt like the smut and spicy scenes in this book were just a bit off-putting, and they just didn't really make sense, and they didn't make sense to the characters or to the plot, and I did not like it. I'm so sorry. It really hurts me to say that, because the Devil's Night series is like one of my favorite series ever, and I've given the other books in the series 4 to 5 stars, but I gave Nightfall 3 stars, and I actually have an entire reading vlog on Nightfall if you're interested to know more of my thoughts and see my reactions and stuff. But this was such a disappointment for this year, and I'm kind of sad, to be honest. Like, I was at such a high with Unravel Me, and now I'm kind of sad. But yeah, that was my biggest disappointment. The next book is The Biggest Surprise of 2023. And the book that I chose for this is A Long Time Coming by Megan Quinn. It is part of the Kane Brothers series. It is the last book in the series, and it is such a good book. Like, I was not expecting this book to be so good, because I've read a couple of books before by Megan Quinn, and I was not like super impressed with her writing style. I didn't really have high expectations going into this book. I read the first book in the series and I gave it, I think, 3 stars. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't anything amazing. And then I read a previous book by her. It was in another series that she has. I think it was called Those Three Little Words. It was a hockey romance, but it was not a good hockey romance, unlike Unravel Me. But we're not gonna talk about that anymore. And I gave that 2 out of 5 stars. So I didn't really have like the highest expectations going into this book. But let me tell you, baby, I ate this book up so fast, it's not even funny. I was reading it and I was like, this doesn't even sound like anything Miss Megan has written before. Whoa, I was so surprised and taken off guard. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. It is one of the most exciting romances I've ever read. Like, it was just such a good example of how to do because it's a friends to lovers trope, how to do that trope so well that's not like weird or bad or anything like that. Like, it was amazing. So this one is about Brecker and Leah, who met in college and became friends over a game of Scrabble. I think it was either Scrabble or Dungeons with Dragons. They're kind of nerdy, but like not super nerdy. Leah is preparing to marry this guy though, he's awful. He is so bad. He is a mama's boy. It's so embarrassing for her. But she's getting prepared to marry this guy. She doesn't have a lot of friends other than Brecker, and she doesn't have a lot of girlfriends around her. So Brecker is the one who is helping her prepare for this wedding. So he's going with her to, you know, go to different wine tastings, go, you know, cake tasting, picking up the dress. And obviously the more time he spends with her, he starts to realize that he actually has feelings for her. And it is just so cute. Brecker be pushing those boundaries of friends. Brecker is like sexy happy and sweet, and Leah is just absolutely adorable. And I just love the way that we got to see the relationship and dynamic between the different brothers in this book, and I just adored it. I feel like Megan Quinn is a hit or miss author for me, but this book took me by surprise because I was not expecting to like it as much. Don't judge me for the cover. I know, we don't judge covers here, okay? We just read books. We just read books. The next one is favorite new author, and this can be a debut author or a new author to you, and I actually have two. The first one I already mentioned. It is going to be Ekweke Emezi. Their writing style in this book completely captivated me, and it absolutely felt like a breath of fresh air reading this book. And I know that they have a romance, You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty, and I know I want to read that for summer. It's actually on my summer TBR, so I need to get to that eventually. But I do want to read more of their work. I think they are very, very talented. And if you have not read anything by Ekweke Emezi, then you need to get on it. They are going to take over. The next author I have, Miss Jessa Hastings with Magnolia Parks. This book and this series completely took me by surprise. I will say when it comes to writing, I'm still getting used to Jessa Hastings' writing. It's definitely different for me and it's very unique and nothing that I've read before or typically read. But the reason why I think she is a favorite author of mine is I really admire how she can create such a messy story that's not clear in where you think it's gonna go. Like you might think it can go in one direction and then she's like, actually no, it's not gonna go in that direction. It's very honest and I think it's very realistic of how messy people can be. And then I just really have enjoyed my reading experience reading these books. But specific to the author, I recently listened to a podcast that Jessa was on and she talked about the writing process for her and how she is committed to sticking to the story rather than trying to, you know, appease her characters. Like if she really, really loves a character, but you know, they might have to go through something difficult, she's not gonna like not make them go through something difficult because she likes the character, because if it's supposed to, you know, move the story along, then she's going to do it because her commitment is to the story and she knows the big picture of what she wants the story to be about and where she wants the books to go. And I really admire that because there are some hard decisions that I'm sure she's had to make. I know some fans and some readers are not always happy with the decisions that she's made with these books. Like these books are a headache to read, but I admire authors that understand and realize that there is a bigger picture to what I'm writing, and if you stick with it, you might be able to see it. Like it's going to be painful, but that's part of like the human experience, of course. And I really admired that piece that she talked about in the podcast, and she's also really funny to follow on social media, so I'm very excited to see more of her work. The next one is newest fictional crush. Charlie Lastra. It has to be Charlie Lastra from Book Lovers. First of all, this book is absolutely amazing. Again, Emily Henry can do no wrong. This book was 5 out of 5 stars. I knew this book was gonna be 5 out of 5 stars within like 30 pages. Like it was not difficult to give this book 5 out of 5 stars. Charlie Lastra is my book boyfriend of the year so far. I think Mr. Adam from Unravel Me might take that spot. The reason that I chose Charlie for this prompt is because there's a very specific scene in the book, and I don't want to spoil it in case you haven't read Book Lovers, but there's a very specific scene where it just made me really appreciate who Charlie was as a person, but also who he was for Nora, who's the main character in this book. And he was just so honest and created a very safe space for Nora, and I just really appreciated that. Emily Henry writes very realistic characters, but I think that Charlie is the most realistic male character that she's written. You can see his flaws, you can see his insecurities, and you can see that he's vulnerable. He's a real person and that he wants to have a relationship with Nora, but he also doesn't want to be the one who holds her from doing what she really wants to do. This man has his one-liners that absolutely took my breath away. Send me a Charlie Lastra. That's who I want. I want a Charlie. Send him to me. This next one is kind of funny. Book that made you cry. If you know, you know. The Great Undoing by Jessa Hastings. This is the second book in the Daisy Hates timeline. So in the Magnolia Parks universe, you are following two timelines. You are following the timeline of Magnolia Parks and the timeline of Daisy Hates. Both of the timelines are going on at the same time, but they're just told in a different character's perspective. And Daisy Hates is my favorite timeline to follow in the Magnolia Parks universe. And this book, it broke me as a person. Like I was undone by this book. It's called The Great Undoing of Daisy Hates. I was the one baby that was undone. This wasn't like, oh my God, I'm shedding a little bit. No. I wasn't shedding tears, baby. I was crying. I was bawling. I was wailing. I have footage of this. Like if you want to go see, go check out the reading vlog I did on these books. Go to the end, baby. I was crying. I don't know why I keep calling y'all baby. I'm sorry. Jessa really uses a lot of metaphors in her writing, and I feel like the metaphors that she uses in this book really were just clicking for me. It made everything so much more painful because of those metaphors. If you don't know what the Magnolia Parks books are about, it's essentially Gossip Girl but set in high society London. It's about a group of friends and family who are just absolutely messy as hell. Like, there's a lot of drama going on with this group. These books can give you a headache, and these books can be very, very frustrating to read. And I know it's not everybody's cup of tea because there are some themes or actions involved that a lot of people just do not like to read about. But I think that if you go into these books with an open mind and you're just wanting to just see the drama and have a good time and just eat your popcorn, you will. But you also will cry. Jessa decides to take things a bit further and get a little bit serious. And it's like, whoa, 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 I thought this was supposed to be a fun, messy book. It's a little bit more than that, babes, and I was not prepared. And that's why this book was the book that made me cry the most in 2023. The next prompt is a book that made you happy. Okay, that was a really good segue from being sad to being happy. And that was a book by Miss Talia Hibbert. Talia Hibbert is one of my favorite authors. Highly suspicious and fairly cute. And Talia Hibbert typically writes adult romances, but this is her YA debut and it is absolutely fantastic. First of all, the cover is very, very cute. But this book follows our two main characters, Bradley and Celine. They're ex-best friends and they have to kind of work together on a wilderness expedition for a chance to win a scholarship. As they're working in this expedition and they have to work together, you get to see what was kind of the reason for their falling out, but you also obviously get to see them building up their relationship again as friends and obviously as something more than friends. And this book is so cute. It's just so adorable and it makes me really happy because it's such a healthy depiction of like a high school romance. Like, Bradley is very respectful and very kind. Celine is also very fun. The chemistry between these two characters is amazing. The banter between these two characters is amazing. Celine was giving it back to Bradley every single time. And Bradley is so emotionally mature for his age. I think he's only 17 years old. He's so emotionally mature for his age that it was just amazing to see. Anything that Talia Hibbert writes is magic. And I would highly recommend this book to anybody who is in high school. I would also recommend this book to anybody who is new to romance or wants to read a very cute and lighthearted YA romance. Like, if you read something that was heavy, like after reading this, you should probably read this so you can, you know, heal. Most beautiful book you've bought so far this year. That's so obvious. The Magnolia Park series. We're gonna go through each book one by one. So this is the first one, Magnolia Parks. Gorgeous. Then we have Daisy Hates, the first Daisy Hates. Gorgeous. Then we have The Long Way Home. Gorgeous. And then you've seen the last one, The Great Undoing. These books right here, the most beautiful books I own on my bookshelf. I would be lying to you if I said that I didn't buy these books because of the cover. The last prompt for this video is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? You're asking me about my TBR? Baby. Basically all the books that I bought in my previous video and hauled for you guys, I need to read those books by the end of the year. That would be nice. Unfortunately, my memory card does not have any storage, so sorry if things look different. But the prompt was, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Obviously, I want to get to Emily Henry's Happy Place and R.F. Kuang's Yellowface. I also feel like this year I've read a lot of romance and I want to kind of pivot and start reading a lot more fantasy again. Like, I know for sure that I want to read The Blood Trials. I'll put it up on the screen, but I know for sure I want to read this book because somebody recommended it to me and I've heard really good things about it. I also know that whenever I'm able to get my hands on it, I would really like to read Fourth Wing. I would like to also pick back up the From Blood and Ash series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I read the first book and really liked it. I read the second one and really liked it. And then I read the third one and was not feeling it. And I kind of haven't picked up the books since then. And I know they're on the fourth book in the series, and then the prequel has like 2 books out right now. So I think I want to jump back into it because my friend Logan has been reading it and she's like been keeping up with it and she has just been saying it's really good. And I do miss Poppy and Castile again and Kieran, but the third one was just not good, babes. And I was like, I don't know if I can continue reading it, but I would maybe like to get back into that again. I don't have anything super specific on my TBR that I'm like, I need to get, other than Unravel Me, which is all I'm thinking about at this moment in time. I just really want to read more fantasy, read more literary fiction. Obviously, I'm going to continue to read my romances, but I feel like I've just been prioritizing romance a lot and I want to kind of diversify the genres that I'm reading a little bit now because I'm kind of reading the same thing over and over again and I think I might be getting burnt out. So that's what I want to read by the end of the year. Those are all of the questions or prompts for this video. This was actually really fun. And now that I'm like looking at all the books that I've read so far this year, I feel like this year has been a pretty good reading year for me and I hope that it's been a good reading year for you guys. Let me know if you want to answer any of these questions or prompts. Please let me know your answers down below. What's been your favorite book of the year? What's been your least favorite book of the year? Let me know in the comments. But before I end the video, I do want to give a big thank you to everybody who has subscribed within like the past week, who have been subscribed since the very beginning of my channel. I have been getting a lot of new subscribers recently and I have also been getting a lot of nice comments on my videos videos, especially my last video. And I just want to take a moment to thank you guys for leaving such nice comments and for subscribing and for engaging with my videos, because I mean, I've been wanting to do this for such a long time, and I have tried doing this multiple times over multiple years of my life, but I've always been so scared and I've always been so in my head about making content and making videos. And the fact that you guys are leaving such kind words and such sweet comments really does mean a lot to me. So I do want to take a second and just thank you guys, and that I hope that you continue to enjoy the videos that I make, and I appreciate you. I will see you guys hopefully in my next video, which will be next week, and it will be a reading vlog, and I'm really excited, and I will see you then. Bye!